Hi everyone, I wanted to talk to you about some things I brought up in the past, some issues that are not just troubling to me, but troubling to America as a whole. And this problem involves America. It involves every single one of us. It involves the people who are professional basketball, professional sports people. It involves our president. It involves what's gone on so wrong with Hollywood. And this is aside from the issues with the children and trafficking and stuff like that. Of course, this has a lot to do with what I'm going to talk about. But when we see celebrities talking smack and being disrespectful against our president, or if they have a guest on their show like The View, and Whoopi and Joyce just are completely rude to Don Trump Jr., it's because the very person who's been walking around smiling in everyone's face has been romancing and dancing with Communist China. And this person I'm talking about, we all know him. He's sold America out. He has created ties within certain networks of the facets of our society. And in this particular video, I'm going to talk about how Biden sold out America to China while working for Hollywood. So this is why everything is so perverted. Hollywood is like, their attitude is in the dumpster. You know, is it Al Pacino? Not Al Pacino. Is it I forgot his name. But we have actors who will just come out and be so dirty to our president. John Legend, can't stand you, John Legend. And it's because Hollywood sold out, even if it meant their lives, to Communist China. And who was behind this? Well, this is a direct quote from Biden. There is no question that you got the right guy with the right influence. This article was written May 8th of 2020 by Daniel Greenfield of the Front Page Mag. And Daniel Greenfield, a Schulman journalism fellow at the Freedom Center, is an investigative journalist and writer focusing on the radical left and Islamic terrorism. It's my type of guy. Because, guys, this corruption, this communism has infiltrated our communities. And it's completely put Hollywood on its back. It's become so dirty. It's become so vile. So I'm going to go on with this article. Outside of the JW Marriott in Los Angeles, Reverend Eddie Perez Romero was being handcuffed by the LAPD. And I'm so sorry, my mouse broke, so it's like a brand new mouse. It's not working. So it takes me time to kind of navigate on my page. But Reverend Romero was holding up a sign saying "Free China" outside, and it was outside the Chinese Ministry of Commerce conference. Inside the conference was LAPD's boss, Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa, along with Governor Jerry Brown and Vice President Joe Biden, who were palling around with China's future dictator, Xi Jinping. And I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that name. I should have looked it up. So Xi Jinping. The Reverend said, and I quote, "My hope is that Vice President Joseph Biden, Governor Jerry Brown, and Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa will rise above any pandering spirit, but as a true statesman, intentionally blur the artificial line between the economy and human rights," unquote, by Reverend Romero. And we've seen the problems we have in our society and what's going on with Hollywood and the communism and how Hollywood has embraced, they're in bed with Communist China, guys. This whole terrorism going on, domestic terrorism, Hollywood is funding. They're a big funder. So despite what Reverend Romero had just said, Biden had a very, very different agenda on his mind. It was 2012 and Joe Biden was thinking about his future. A year earlier, his best friend, Senator Chris Dodd, had left the Senate to run the MPAA, which is Hollywood's trade association and movie industry. And reading its own writing on the wall, wanted into China and was willing to sell its soul to make a deal. I'm talking about Hollywood. Biden, on the other hand, wanted Hollywood cash for a future presidential campaign. You see how these two evil entities came together? Chris Dodd had been one of the sleaziest figures in Senate, even by low standards of the era, eager to do favors for any well-heeled industry, from finance to entertainment, and his friendship with Biden gave him a direct pipeline into Obama's administration. And Dodd gave Biden a pipeline into Hollywood. 2 years later, in 2014, Biden began an address to the MPAA by joking, "There have been the rumors all these years when Chris and I served in the Senate that although I was chairman, he controlled me. We've just given new life to these rumors," he continued, describing how he had left a meeting with Obama and Chancellor Merkel, telling Obama that he had to address the MPAA. "There's no question that you've got the right guy with the right influence," Biden concluded. You see, he's a master devil, this Biden. We cannot allow him to win, guys. And that's exactly what Biden has been proving in Los Angeles as he surrounded Xi Jinping, communist, he's a communist from China, with Hollywood tycoons, especially Jeffrey Katzenberg, a major donor to his 2020 year campaign, and cut a deal with Chinese thug. He cut a deal with a Chinese thug communist to increase the quota of Hollywood movies allowed in by the Chinese communist regime. Some of you were there, literally, when by the end of that lunch we had a handshake, Biden boasted to MPAA. The next year, the number of blockbuster foreign films showing in China has increased by over half of our share of the box office revenue. It's doubled. The box office revenue has doubled. or your share of the box office revenue has doubled. Biden understandably lost track of the difference between your share and our share, because Hollywood has been a reliable funding machine for Biden. What was good for Hollywood was also good for Biden. Katzenberg got Oriental DreamWorks, a $330 million joint venture with PRC, and eventually hosted Biden's first Southern California fundraiser, which brought in $700K. 2012 was a big year for the adulterous nuptials of Hollywood and the Chinese Communist Party, guys. And I'm going to get into how this fits into and ties into Scientology cult, because I've talked about it in my past videos, and I was right. And so were others who said the same thing, like a representative of Clearwater, Florida. A few months after the meeting between Biden and Jinping, China's Wanda Group bought AMC theaters for $2.6 billion. The Wanda Group, run by billionaire communist oligarch with close ties to regime officials, is working on communist theme park. And its investors allegedly include Jinping's sister. Beyond owning the theaters, Wanda owns the Legendary Group, which has a hand in a long list of movies from Spike Lee's Black KKK Klansman to Pokemon, along with the King Kong and Jurassic Park sequels. The only reason Hollywood movies can play in China is because the communist leadership directly profits from them and controls what goes into them, either directly through ownership or by forcing the industry to submit scripts for the approval of its communist censors. HUAC would be superfluous today. The big studios who make up the MPAA are all working for communists, and they're proud of it. This is why I want nothing to do with Hollywood. Make me sick. That's why a Tibetan character vanished from Doctor Strange. Disney has been the worst offender when it comes to appeasing the communist leadership. Why Taiwanese and Japanese flags patches vanished from Tom Cruise's jacket in the Top Gun sequel. The movie was backed by Tencent, the PRC social media monopoly whose social media controls allow the regime to censor dissent, and which has its paws on Wonder Woman, Venom, and other blockbusters. And why World War Z erased references to China, covering up the origin of the zombie outbreak. The act of censorship now appears prophetic. Biden's brokering of the relationship between Hollywood and communist elite was more than financial. It was cultural. Hollywood traded access for control, not just over what Chinese people saw, but what Americans were likely to see. Biden's donors got richer, and American movies were reduced to a bunch of CG cartoons with limited dialogue that had to win communist approval. Oh, guys, this is gross. And it wasn't just Hollywood. In 2013, a year after Xi, however you say his name, event at the Marriott, Joe and Hunter Biden flew on Air Force Two to China. BHR Partners was founded that year and included Hunter Biden as a board member. Underneath the rhetoric about the ennobling virtues of globalism were some very features and familial profiteering. The big Chinese partner in the BHR arrangement with the Harvest Fund Management, coincidentally enough, in 2012, was targeting Hollywood with an $800 million investment fund. That same year, you could find Bruno Wu, who had been working with Harvest, and Chris Dodd, along with Harvey Weinstein, playing roles at the Asian Film Summit in Toronto. And the money just didn't go one way. The Delaware Board of Trade was incorporated in 2013. Despite its name, DBOT was not a government agency, but a penny stock startup which received $3 million loan from Newcastle County. Newcastle County had approved the issue of $15 million in revenue bonds to fund DBOT stock exchange by touting the global recognized leaders in the financial services industry running it. DBOT's founders included people with experience in the stock exchange and financial services, and Dennis Toner, who was described as a top aide to Vice President Joe Biden. Toner, Biden's deputy chief of staff, is in the news for denying that Tara Reade, R-E-A-D-E, Reade, ever told him anything. Reade's decision to tell Toner and Ted Kaufman was a pretty poor one. Both are longtime Biden men and considered as close to the boss as family. And they've reaped the benefits of that closeness. Emperor Caligula, Caligula, appointed his horse to the Roman Senate. After Obama won, Ted Kaufman was temporarily appointed to the Senate. If there was anything odd about appointing Biden advisor to sit in the Senate, it became more odd when Senate Kaufman delivering the opening statement in favor of Toner's appointment as post office governor by vouching for his loyalty working for Joe Biden. Reade might as well have taken her complaint to Biden as to Toner and Kaufman. The current Newcastle County exec had since called DBOT's founders criminals and threatened to sue after the company was disposed as a distressed asset in exchange for some shares of Ideonomics. It's a Chinese crypto company trading as a penny stock, and the software that served as collateral for the loan has been described as worthless. The chairman of Ideonomics is Wu, W-U. The manager of DBOT ILLC was listed as John Hansky, Hynansky. The car dealer is a Biden pal with extensive Ukrainian ties who has lent Biden's shady brother $500,000 and had received $20 million in government loans to start a Porsche luxury car dealership in the Ukraine. Biden's vaulted foreign policy expertise has consisted of brokering deals between family members, donors, and foreign interests. These deals haven't been good for America, but they've worked out well for members of his crooked family, as well as assorted donors, camp followers, and local boys. But his biggest deal was helping broker the Chinese takeover of the American entertainment industry. But his biggest deal was helping broker the Chinese takeover of the American entertainment industry. It just doesn't stop at the entertainment industry, guys. It's America. We're under siege. And Hollywood drank the Kool-Aid. They're one of the idiots who drank the Kool-Aid. Xi's visit to Los Angeles, Jinping, his visit to Los Angeles, hit on all cultural notes. He schmoozed Hollywood bigwigs and their errand boys like Dodd and Biden. He watched a Lakers game and cheered Obama's 100,000 strong China initiative to have 100,000 American students study in the communist dictatorship. I can say with confidence, my visit has been a full success, Xi Jinping declared. In China, culture serves the agenda of the communist government. Unlike the Russians, who struggled vainly to stem the impact of American culture, their Chinese counterparts decided to control it at the source. Biden was a key figure in negotiating the terms on which the PRC would control Hollywood. Everything has just gone down the toilet with Biden around. Everything has gone down the toilet with Biden around. And this deluded monster wants to be president. And in 1962, the Mercurian candidate depicted an effort by communists in China, Russia, and elsewhere to kidnap and brainwash American soldiers. The modern remake replaced the communists with a corporation and the Chinese doctor with a South African geneticist. Like as in genocide. China could not be offended. While Biden, Katzenberg, and Xi were partying at the Marriott, human rights protesters were calling for freedom and being arrested by henchmen of a one-party Democrat city and state for their trouble. Even while Biden was falsely claiming that the Hollywood sellout would improve human rights in China, the rise of China was already violating human rights in America. You bet they were. You bet they are. Now, as Chinese drones fly over American cities, police stalk empty streets. Social media monopolies monitor every single phone. And Democrat officials dismiss the Bill of Rights while locking up millions of people. Our rights are gone. And Joe Biden is the Manchurian, Manchurian candidate who long ago sold out the country he now seeks to rule. So guys, they've infiltrated Hollywood and they're trying to infiltrate our legal system, our police force, and they've done that through the cult of Scientology. When I've said the cult was ran by the mob, they're ran by communist China. That's why people are getting stalked and assaulted like me. I just went to I didn't go to Trader Joe's, but I went to a store near Trader Joe's in Studio City yesterday. And, I get followed Trader Joe's and to other stores I go to. And let me tell you, Scientology sold out to the mob as did Hollywood. You got to remember, Tom Cruise is Hollywood. Hollywood sold out to Communist China. Communist China now is trying to take over Clearwater, Florida. And you have people on that city council panel during a meeting say, oh well, who cares? And these are the dangerous, mindless idiots running our cities, running our towns, because they happen to have Scientologists as representatives for their city. And this is what I've been saying, guys. Scientology has infiltrated our police stations. Governor Newsom, Mayor, how do you say his name? Garcetti? How do you say that guy's name? Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa. I can't even say his name. Governor Jerry Brown at the time. You know, Newsom had to adopt to all this crap. Communism. This is why certain celebrities get trashed so hard, because Communist China is cracking down on everybody, even me. And I'm not a celebrity. I have a relationship with Jesus Christ. You best believe that. And that will never change. Over my dead body, that'll ever change. And Communist China has taken over Hollywood. Literally. They've taken over the cult. And they run this. That's why the cops sweep everything they do underneath the carpet, because the mob has merged with the cult. And it's a perfect place to be tax exempt, so they can pile up their little nuts of money to buy up a lot of real estate, take over, and then use their religious, it's not even religious, but their religious BS song and dance to infiltrate via religion, when the religion is the tablecloth hiding the communist agenda, guys. I don't know if President Trump, let's just say hypothetically, Biden wins, I don't think America ever is going to recover. And if Trump wins, I don't know if the communists are going to try to destroy this earth. And these communists are satanic, guys. They don't like God. They don't want people to have their guns. I've always been against guns, just because I'm not a gun person. I'm not a violent person. But in terms of what we're looking at going on in our country, people need their guns. People need their guns. They don't want people to have their guns. They don't want us to have a vaccine. They want us to remain sick. They want us to remain in the dark by their confusing messages and blurring the lines, and then blaming our president for everything that they've brought onto our country in terms of attacks. They want to keep us sick. They want to keep us in the dark. They want to keep us without our guns. They want to keep God out of the picture. Anything resembling God, crosses, churches, talking about God, praying to God. They want to take away the holy vibration so that their satanic ways can take over. They want to just decimate our school system and brainwash our children into hating their history, into hating their country. They want to neglect African Americans and taxpayers. They want to neglect human rights, civil rights, workers' rights. And they want to fund these illegal aliens that can come in so they can recruit them for their domestic terrorism. So let's say that if Biden did win, they would eradicate the police department and have these monsters policing us in a very, very terroristic, violent way, like an example of what's been going on in Portland and Seattle. They're going to dissect our Constitution. They're going to decimate it. And they're going to use parts that they're going to reform. They're going to take some out, reform, and they're going to make it to where it supports their communist agenda. China, Communist China will take over. So again, they don't want a vaccine. They want to keep us sick. And we have to remember, Communist China waged war on us with this virus, COVID virus. And Hollywood is sided. They're invested with Communist China. This is why people get gang stalked. This is why certain celebrities can't even talk about things, because they'll get killed. They'll get blacklisted. Because of Communist China. Because of Joe Biden. And this is why we have forest fires going on. Because in our democratic ran states, because our governors and our mayors and senators, whoever is in bed with Communist China, is allowing China to carry out their agenda for takeover and to make our president look bad, to sabotage our president. That's why I just did that previous video on the Black Voice launch that he gave November 8th of 2019, guys. Let's not forget our president's accomplishments and all the hard work, energy, hard work he puts into this country. He came into a broken nation. He came into a broken country. Broken. Decimated by these devils, these Democrats. And he's been putting it back together, guys. He's been putting it back together. We cannot allow Biden to carry on with his communist